everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do a scrapbook layout using Taketothesky scrapbook paper collection from Stampin Up. Okay, so these are the papers and we have lots of airplane images and some maps and clouds, and I pulled some cardstock from close to my heart that were close matches to the colors, and I'm going to use stamped images from the Let's Go Anywhere collection. I'm going to use the card workshop and the card making and scrapbooking sets. Okay, so I'm going to start with the regular side of linen and as my base, and the pictures that I'm going to scrapbook are from a road trip that my husband and I took a few years ago down to Arizona to visit my folks. And in Tucson there is the Pima Air and Space Museum, so we took a day trip and made a visit there and took lots of pictures of airplanes. So I'm going to create a background paper. And the color that I'm going to stamp with is Whisper. It's a little bit darker than linen and it shows up a little bit better. So I was just looking for a light gray and I came up with this, and I'm just going to random stamp this image. It's a little dotted trail with airplane at the end, little swirls. And so I'm just going to random stamp them all over with Whisper ink. So it's Whisper on the regular side of linen. And I'm just creating a background paper. Okay, now I have this little airplane. There's two different airplanes from the Let's Go Anywhere scrapbooking collection. And I'm just going to random stamp these little guys all over. And I'm going to do both airplanes to fill in some of those areas to create my background paper. And then I have another little dotted swirl. Actually, there's two of them with a little arrow at the end. And I'm going to random stamp those near the small airplanes. So we'll just continue on. And then off camera, I'll do the right side the same way. So we'll have two base pages. Okay, so now let's get started. I'm going to start trimming out my pattern paper. So I'm going to use this cloud paper and cut it at 1.5 by 12. Actually, I think it's 1 3/4. Sorry, 1 3/4 by 12. And then I'm going to cut a 6 by 6. And later on, I changed my mind, and you'll see. But this is the basic dimensions. So you need one 6 by 6, and then you want to cut it on a diagonal. And then you want another piece of pattern paper cut at 5 by 5. So the change that I switched it up, I wound up cutting 6 by 6 in this airplane pattern, and then 5 by 5 in that other plaid pattern. And then there's a cut apart sheet in this collection. So I'm going to use a few pieces and a tag from this. So I'm just going to cut everything apart. So the Stampin' Up colors in this collection are Boho Blue, Copper Clay, Mossy Meadow, Night of Navy, and Smoky Slate. And I came up with some close matches from close to my heart. I dove into my stash and pulled some colors. And there are some newer colors that Stampin' Up suggests, but I feel like these were a little bit closer. So I'll talk about them when I get to those colors, and you can check your stash and see what you've got. And you might actually have the Stampin' Up colors too. So, okay, so now I have all my components here, and we can start building our layout. Okay, so these are the two base pages that I made. And I switched those around because I intentionally did not stamp on the outer edges because I knew that that border strip was going to go there. So that's why I switched them. And then this was the other switch that I made. I started laying everything out, and I didn't like that most of those little airplanes were covered up. So I wanted it to be like this, which meant that I needed to go back and cut those pieces at different sizes. So I'll do that off camera, but for now I'm going to go ahead and just lay everything out according to the pattern that I have set up. And then I'll go ahead and bring in my photos. And now I'm going to mat them. So I pulled from my stash. This is an old Indian corn blue. And the suggested color for boho blue from Stampin' Up is periwinkle, but I thought it was too purple. I wanted to go more blue, a good cornflower blue. So I pulled this, and some of my pictures have that same color blue or close to it color, so I wanted to pull those in. All right, so I have adhered everything and matted all of my photos and popped them on foam tape. So we'll go ahead and adhere this one so the top edge is even with the picture to the left of it. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in some of these cut apart pieces, and I'm going to use the Spotlight on Nature die collection to die cut some of these little pattern papers. Okay, so they have different edging on the various sizes of circles, and one of the edging it sort of reminds me of a flower, so I'm going to leave that out. And then there's one that has sort of dots and dashes, and another that has some really cool lines all around the edges. So I've chosen one, and I want to cut this globe image out of this little 3x4, and I'm looking at it, and I want the North America side to be in this cut piece. So put it over on the left side and run it through. And then I realized once I got it through, there were too many square edges still. And so I'm going to have to run it through again. I'm looking to see if I can actually use it like that, and it's not going to work. So I'm going to run it through again with the same edge die, just a size smaller. And we'll go ahead and run that same piece through. All right, now I have a more rounded edge all the way around. Okay, so now I'm going to pick another piece, and I'm going to cut another circle, and that's where my title is going to get stamped. So I like this plaid, and I'm just making sure my sentiment is going to fit in the circle that I choose. Now the sentiment I pulled from the Let's Go Anywhere card making collection, and it says let's explore together. So I'm just choosing a die. This one I'm going to use the dash lines all the way around the edges, making sure my stamped image is going to fit, and we'll go ahead and run that through. Now I'm going to use my Misty to actually stamp. So I've got the negative portion of this cut out so that I can keep it lined up correctly in my Misty. And I'm going to stamp several times so that I have a nice dark image, but I didn't want to go as dark as Sapphire. So I'm going to keep my colors within the cornflower blue range. Actually, this is Indian corn blue. And I'm going to leave out any of the greens or the mossy meadows in this particular layout. I'm just going to stick with the blues and the copper clays and the grays. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up my stamp and stamp it several times, and the ink tends to get a little bit lighter as it dries, so keep that in mind. It looks really dark right now, but after it dries, it's going to dry a really nice pretty cornflower blue. Okay, So now I'm going to add to this, and again, I'm sort of experimenting with my ink colors. So I have this geotag, and there's also a compass star, but I decided on the geotag. And my first instinct was to go with the barn red, but I want to make sure I like how it works and looks on the blue. So I'm just kind of inking up the scratch leftover pattern paper, and I also pulled in brown bag, and I decided that I needed a little more red, so I ultimately went with my first instinct, which was barn red. So we'll stamp that geotag out, and that circle is going to get layered on top of the other circle, starting to create my little embellishment cluster up here. And then I've got some of these die cuts that are from Let's Go Anywhere. And I also cut several images on my Cricut. I just plugged in airplane on Cricut Access, and I pulled up all different kinds of airplanes. I've got some old-fashioned biplane images and some jet fighters and commercial airliners and all different kinds. So I've cut them in slate and Indian corn blue and lighter shade of gray, and I ultimately went with the slate and Indian corn blue. Okay, now I'm bringing in stickers from Let's Go Anywhere, and I'm not really finding any that grab me. So later on, I decided there was one that was gray that said road trip, and it was a road trip, so I'm going to use that as part of my little journaling tag. But right now, couldn't really find anything that I liked. Okay, so we're going to turn to our die cuts. First, I'm going to lay all this down, and I like that little biplane. So now we're going to see what we have in the die cuts. Okay, and I'm just making sure, and I think I'm going to use the solid one, the jet fighter. Yeah, because that other one, it kind of disappears. Even though I'm going to layer it on top of something, I like the solid. Okay, so I'm going to use this cut apart, and I'm going to cut a circle. So I'm going to mirror or reflect the circles that are up on the left side. I'm going to do the same on the bottom right. Sorry, you can probably hear my dog. I'm going to have to go see what she's barking about. Okay, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, I'm back. She was barking at workers they're laying down new asphalt out on the street in front of the house. So anyway, I've got her with me, so hopefully she'll stay quiet. Now I'm looking at the dies or die cuts from Let's Go Anywhere, and I pulled a little airplane, didn't like it, and I decided that the black ones were just too harsh and dark of a color. So I'm going to go with the lighter color, and I'm going to pull a couple of arrows, and then later on I pull a couple brackets. So I don't like this craft color, so I'm going to change it by inking it up, and I'm going to use some of that barn red. So we'll just swipe some of that on there, and then I took a second arrow and did the same thing. So we can have one on each page. All right, we'll look at this, and now I need a tag. So I've cut this tag from that cut apart sheet, and we'll go ahead and finish cutting, and then we'll pop a hole at the top of the tag, and I need the right size, needed a smaller one, and then I'll add some ribbon. So I have some old ribbon, and I believe it's a retired color, and let's see, I'm trying to figure out what color. It's Misty Moonlight, and it's Stampin' Up. Okay, and then I have this cool tool. It's called Take Your Pick, and it's got this little mini spatula on it. So it's wonderful for getting right under something that's already been adhered and So I'm doing that here, and then I can scooch that tag right underneath there. A little bit fussy, but we'll get it in there. And then I'm going to take some more of, it's a scrap that's from the circle that I cut of the map, and I'm going to cut a tag from it. So I've got, this is basic tags, and we'll go ahead and cut that out. Now I'm going to figure out where I want to put it. Don't like it there. Don't like it there. That's where it's going to work. Okay, so I'll add some ribbon to that. And I pulled that from my stash. And it's like 1/8 of an inch grosgrain. That's very close to that other blue. Okay, so there's that other arrow that I inked up with Barn Red. I think we're getting there, and I'm ready to start adhering. Okay, so we've got everything stuck down, and I feel like on the left and the right page, I needed a little something with those circle clusters. So I'm going to bring in these brackets. I think that's what they're called. And I'm going to ink those up with Barn Red as well. And this time I'm going to use a blending brush. And we'll get one inked up, and then I'll do the other off camera. So get these bad boys inked up and place those down just to kind of bring a little bit more color and finish up those two clusters for our visual triangle. And then off camera, I added that sticker to the tag that's on the right page that says road trip. And I'll journal in Arizona and the date, road trip down to Tucson. And I think that's good. I like that. And now I'm going to bring in, I really did some stash busting, and I found these old durables artisan studs, and they come in like a pewter and also kind of a antiqued bronze. I like the bronze. It kind of pulled in that the Barn Red color, and I'm going to scatter a bunch of those around. So I'll have some still pictures at the end. I'll make a list of products that I used with links in the description below, and I will make a list of all the compatible close to my heart colors and Stampin' Up colors, and you can check your stash and see which ones you have that'll match these colors. Stay tuned. I'll have a couple more layouts with some other airplane museums and other excursions that we have airplane pictures to use this collection with. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And then you'll be able to find all of my videos. And thanks for watching.